If you want to play 4.5 level tennis, but you're not there yet, then you've clicked on exactly the right video. This is part 2 in a 3-part series. Part 1, if you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend you watch it. It's all about first strike tennis, gaining the advantage in points and keeping your foot on the gas. Today we're going to be talking about something completely different. It's just as important if you ever want to play this level of tennis. And we'll be deconstructing some points against Scott and Mark, featuring Scott and Mark. They were incredible competitors in a recent match play series. So let's get right down to business, and I'll talk to you about today's topic. So first things first, this is how most people think most points end at a higher level of tennis, like 4 or 5. Scott and Mark both, by the way, high 4 or 5 level players. A lot of comments below the match play from people saying it feels like 5.0 tennis, and I totally agree. So here we see Mark serving. Scott looks like he has the upper hand in the point, and he does, until just at the last second, Mark smashes a winner down the line and pumps his fist. So I feel like that's kind of the archetype or the framework that everybody has in mind. If I am gonna play high level tennis, I need to figure out how to run off the court, off camera, deep in the court, and then smash a winner, down the line. Incredible shot by Mark. But the reality is this is not how the vast majority of tennis points end at 4.5 or 5.0 or even professional level tennis. Most points end with somebody making an error. Might be an unforced error, might be a forced error, but somebody makes a mistake at the end of most points in tennis. So part of me was almost a little disappointed that I led this series with first strike tennis, because I don't want people to get the impression that that is the only way to win points. It's just by smashing the ball, smashing the ball, smashing the ball until you come out on top. So let's shift gears, and I'll talk to you about what the real answer is for the majority of points. Here's a totally different kind of point. Same players, they're both still hitting strong shots, but I want you to watch the shot selection here. Just a block return from Scott, and then we've got a cross-court rally, high percentage targets, finally a short ball, and then Scott closes forwards. All of the shots that you just saw are high percentage shots. I'm just gonna go ahead and play the point again. And I want you to notice how the ball does not come close to a line, and yet they're both hitting strong, aggressive, confident shots, high racket head speed on most of these. A lot of topspin and curve on that approach shot from Scott. And eventually he pressures Mark enough that Mark makes a mistake. He makes an error. And if you watch the match play between these two, which I strongly recommend you do, we don't just post highlights. We posted the entire match, every point, double faults, missed returns, everything. And when you analyze points a lot, you'll come to realize that this is actually the majority of points. A couple of shots back and forth in exchange, and then somebody makes a mistake. And so as Scott comes forwards here, just before we started recording here, Tyler, off camera, just asked, so is that an unforced error or forced error? And the reality is, at the end of the day, it's subjective. Like, we could debate back and forth, like, was this a forced error or an unforced error? In fact, tell me in the comments down below. I could see it going either way. Like, Mark, I'm guessing Mark is gonna comment down below. Mark, do you think you should have been reasonably expected to make this shot? I'm guessing Mark would say yes. Yeah, Scott was adding pressure, but Mark is in relatively good balance here. He's not in the best position ever, but the ball's in his strike zone. He's got good posture. He hit the ball cleanly. He got there. It's not like he was falling over getting to the ball, barely touching it. So I'm guessing Mark would say he probably should have made that shot, and yet he just made a mistake because of the pressure that Scott was putting on him. So you could kind of argue either side of it. But the bottom line is that Scott didn't have to hit a winner to win this point. And the vast majority of tennis points, all the way on up to professional levels, don't end with a winner. And so when you watch strong players like Scott and Mark, please don't get sucked into just remembering the winners. You have to keep in mind these points too, where they're kind of slugging it out, they're hitting strong shots. Eventually Scott gets rewarded with the short ball, and he closes forwards and he takes advantage of it. That is the mindset or the mentality that you should have when constructing your points. If you like what you're seeing and you're serious about improving your game, I highly recommend you go to essentialtennisacademy.com. This is the inside of the members area, and within Academy, there's all these different categories of coaching, tons of different lesson modules that cover every part of the game, and you can check it out for free right now at essentialtennisacademy.com. Let's check out another point here, this time Scott serving, and watch this exchange back and forth. I want you to look at the height over the net from both players, and the distance inside the lines on these shots. And eventually, I mean, this one, there's really, no debate here. Obviously, this is an unforced error from Mark. There's really no pressure at all from Scott. But when you go and watch the match play footage and you look for points that end this way, you might be surprised at how many actually do end this way. And so the first several shots here in this point are just cross-court rally balls. High clearance over the net here from Mark on that return. Cross court, just keeping it nice and safe. This pattern here, just hitting the ball back in the direction it came from. You see this a lot in professional men's tennis as they just kind of try to get the upper hand in a point. Here, Scott could have gone either direction, and there was definitely a pattern throughout this match of him trying to establish a forehand direction. And a lot of times, Mark, if I were to deconstruct this, I would say that was maybe one of the bigger opportunities for Mark. Was Scott, I believe, really very much wanted this pattern, deuce side to deuce side. And here's an example of him receiving a ball that landed on the ad side, moving around it, and he could have easily hit his forehand to Mark's backhand. But I don't think that Scott wanted a ad side backhand to backhand slugfest, back and forth. So he keeps it to the deuce side here and correctly recovers, slightly staggered over to the deuce side of the court. And then when Mark changes direction, rather than go down the line, Scott just says, all right, I'll just keep playing high percentage, and just keeps it cross court. And Mark trying to change the pace, change the tempo here with a slice, and just makes the error. And so this isn't a sexy point. Part one of this series was really kind of the sizzle, like we're talking about first strike tennis and get them uncomfortable, knock them off balance, like keep the pressure on. But on top of that, remember the graph? You have to balance out consistency with offense. If all you have is offense, 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 then you can't hang with these types of rallies where both players are hitting solid, strong shots. They're trying to knock each other just a little bit off balance so they could get a little bit of a handhold and get the advantage in the point. So yes, you need to have a mindset or an attitude of trying to find some kind of advantage in the point, but while you're looking for it, you won't always be able to get them off balance right off the serve. You won't always be able to get them off balance right off the return. And so you have to be willing to be patient sometimes and kind of poke and prod a little bit and let the point develop. And that's what's happening here in this exchange. And when you watch the two of them play, you'll see a lot of that. If seeing these breakdowns and hearing the explanation has already been helpful, do me a favor and click the like button. It really helps out these videos a lot. It helps more tennis players see them. Thank you so much in advance for doing that. So another example here, really interesting how sometimes as you watch this play out, you'll see the same kind of pattern emerge where they're playing the deuce side pattern, which I think is the one Scott wanted, and it just kind of ends up with him hitting a winner. And a lot of times when you have in mind solid, strong, high percentage patterns and you work that pattern, sometimes a winner just kind of ends up emerging. And I don't think necessarily that Scott was like trying to hit the line here. I think maybe he was just a little bit early on this swing. This is the last swing that he took. Like he doesn't take any big aggressive cut. He doesn't like jump inside the court and like, smash the ball. It's not like he's trying to be flashy or anything like that. This was clearly the pattern that he wanted to establish, I believe, throughout most of the match. I'd be curious to hear Scott's thoughts on that. But I think he wanted this deuce side to deuce side exchange. I think he felt more comfortable there. And so this one he just happens to catch a little bit early. I guarantee you he wasn't aiming for this spot just inside the line. But he ended up catching it a little bit early, and throughout the process of establishing that pattern, he happened to hit a winner. And that's a fantastic way to win a point, to engage your opponent in the pattern you wanted anyway, and just kind of work the point, and then eventually something good happens. It might not always be a winner. Maybe sometimes, the ball might land a little bit short, like what we've seen previously. So you'll have an opportunity to close forwards. Something good hopefully will eventually happen if you can just go toe-to-toe with your opponent. And so this isn't all about just smashing the ball and hitting winners. This is more the stake, whereas part one in this series was the sizzle, setting it up immediately and just kind of dropping the hammer and letting them have it. If you can work points like that in your favor, that's great. But there's all kinds of other kind of mundane, normal, average points where you're just going to be in exchanges back and forth. And if you want to play 4-5 level tennis, you have to be able to do both. You can't go just all in on consistency and hit it in the center of the court over and over. You also can't just aim for the line and smash the ball over and over. There needs to be a mix of both. And Scott and Mark both demonstrate that really nicely. And this is a great example of a point where Scott wasn't necessarily going for a winner, but it just happened to happen while he was hitting solid rally balls. Another example here of these two, and by the way, it really just kind of dawned on me that, Mark, you lose all the examples in today's video, so sorry for that. Definitely didn't plan it that way. But another example here of Scott getting the pattern that he wanted. He wanted to establish deuce side patterns. And so Mark starts off like toe-to-toe, but then has to throw in that slice as he gets, I think, a little bit crossed up there with Scott's rally ball. And that opens the door for Scott to be able to come forwards and pressure. So this shot right here, Scott, again, like it's a solid ball. He's not like moonballing it or tapping it. It's a solid ball, but it's to a big target. He's not hitting anywhere close to any line, anywhere. Like look at where this ball is landing. And so because he hit it solid and strong, and let's actually check out Mark's footwork here. Yeah, it's interesting. I'd love to hear from Mark why he felt like he had to slice here. Because he was in good balance. Maybe his split step was just timed a little bit late possibly, and he got a little bit crossed up. So his momentum was still kind of leading him back towards the center of the court. But in any event, he gets crossed up by a ball that lands right here. That's like 8 feet from the sideline and more than 10 feet from the baseline. This is the ball that gives Scott the upper hand. It's not that he's smashing it onto a line. He's just hitting a solid cross-court ball. It crosses up Mark. Mark throws in the slice, and then Scott is more than happy to come forwards and pressure him. And that shot's close to a line, but he earned it because he set up the point in his favor. So the whole point here is you need to have a focus on the fundamentals, high percentage patterns, and then hitting solid, confident shots within those patterns. If you do that and you move more in that direction, you will advance closer to playing 4-5. And so what do you need to be able to accomplish this? You need racket head speed, you need to be able to shape the ball with good topspin, and you need to be able to control the direction of your ground strokes. So in the first comment down below in this video, you'll see links to other free lessons that cover all those things. I want you to be successful and reach your goals, and if playing 4-5 is one of those goals, follow those lessons, use what you learned here. That's kind of unfortunate again, sorry Mark. And you'll be well on your way. If this has been helpful, do me a favor and click the like button. And there's going to be a part 3 in this series as well. That's super critical. If it's already out, you'll see it right here. So check out part 3 in the series. And if you haven't seen part 1, make sure to watch that as well. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video.